Okay. Hi, and welcome to the millions of people I am sure are watching this video immediately after I upload it because I am, my voice is just very sexy and, I'm sure that I'm going to be incredibly famous and make millions of dollars off my YouTube videos. So, confidence is key, right? Anyway, today we are going to be talking about Canada, but not really that about Canada as much as some sort of brainstorming ideas on how to escape winter in Canada. I think it's something like 90% of Canadians live within 100 kilometers of the US-Canada border. And let's just say there's a reason for that. It's because it's fucking cold. And if you're not someone who enjoys cold weather, well, you don't really have a choice. Or do you? So that's kind of what we're going to explore today. See if there's a way. If you're someone who hates winter and wishes you were, a United States citizen, so you could move to Florida or the southern U.S. or something, or California. If you think about that, and you long for, you're young and poor, and you long for holidays to the Yucatan Peninsula or whatever, or you wish you just lived in friggin' Florida, then I guess this video kind of for you, although I don't really plan on giving solutions as much as just coming up with ideas. So let's begin. So the biggest, the largest population center in Canada is here. It's just this region. You have, what is this, Montreal, right? Maybe. You look like a retard. Why isn't it showing? Okay, I guess, that's Montreal, whatever, I'm sure. Okay, that's Montreal. You got Quebec City, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Mississauga, and then London all the way down to Windsor. This is the most populated part of Canada, and for a reason. It's directly connected to the ocean by, I believe this is St. Lawrence, right? Am I retarded? I don't know. St. Lawrence, right? I think. If I remember anything from fucking social studies. Anyway, and also, as you can clearly see, compared to the rest of Canada, it's fairly southern. The border for most of Canada happens at, this is the 49th parallel, where this border is right here. And you can see that it only dips below this a few places in Canada, one of these being out east in Ontario, Quebec, and I'm pretty sure this is below this parallel as well, down here. This is like the 45th parallel or something. And the only other place it drops down besides out east is tip of Vancouver Island actually drops down, below the 49th parallel, but not by much, not by very much at all. I don't even think by a whole parallel. I'm pretty sure it's more like by half a parallel or something, not by very much. So I guess we should logically start with those places, right? It seems like if we were trying to escape winter, it would be the most logical to just try to get to the most southern point of Canada, right? So let's kind of investigate this a little bit, see if this theory holds true. So anyway, here I have, what's this gonna do? How do I just see this fucking, I don't care about fucking global warming, just show me, how do I just see an image? How do I just blow it up? Fuck, thank God this isn't live. Maybe I'll edit it out, maybe you'll have to skip 30 seconds ahead, I don't know, we'll see. What the fuck? Okay, I just wanted the box to go away, I didn't mean to fucking click that. How do you just see a blown up image? Like this? No. Save, copy, open image, a new tab right there. Okay. Here we go. So here is a temperature map of North America. And, you know, obviously there's no legend, so you can't tell what these actually represent, what temperatures these colors actually represent, but it gives you a pretty good idea. I mean, I think generally people know that how warm, you know, southern Florida is, or, you know, people know that Yucatan is tropical, so you know, obviously, and Mexico is obviously hot, so you can see, you know, red means hot and blue means cold, obviously, and you can kind of see that, you know, the U.S. has a wide range of climates. You know, they have everything from southern Florida, which is, you know, a tropical to subtropical climate, all the way to, you know, northern Alaska, which appears just as, you know, appears just to be as cold as northern Canada. So, and interesting. And you can see, but as you can see, you know, Canada doesn't really have the variety in climates, the choice of climates that the U.S. has. Not to mention they have fucking Hawaii and shit too, which is tropical. But you know, Canada just really doesn't have the same, you know, choice of climates that the U.S. has. You know, and so as you can see, I guess, you know, our initial guess was correct, that you know, it does seem that as you go more south in Canada, it does seem to be warmer. You know, the most furthest south places in Canada do seem to be the warmest. So let's investigate this further. So you can see the southern tip of Victoria seems to be just about the warmest. Actually, you know, it's hard to tell. Yeah, so Vancouver and Victoria seems to be the warmest place, the warmest you can get. And this map is of average annual temperatures. You have to keep that in mind. So this isn't saying that, you know, Victoria and Vancouver have the hottest temperatures of all of Canada. This is saying that Vancouver and Victoria have the highest average temperature. So if you take all the days, including summer and winter, and you just average them, you know, you add them all the temperatures up, and then divide by 365. These are the places that have the highest. So you can see that, you know, Canada's warmest cities are about equivalent to Seattle temperature. So, you know, Vancouver is basically Seattle, you know, basically has Seattle-like temperatures. So, yeah, that's the warmest city in Canada for you, year-round, average temperatures. And now let's look out east. So, you know, Canada also drops below the 49th parallel. Excuse me. Out east here, and you can see a similar effect is going on where as out west, where the ocean is sort of stabilizing the temperatures here near the coast, and you're getting a moderately warm winter, which is boosting these temperatures. And same with Southern Ontario. You know, Southern Ontario almost has both going for it. It has large bodies of water. It's not super far from the ocean, and it's the most furthest south place in Canada. So this has the temperature. You know, this would be Windsor right here, and Detroit would be directly on the other side. So, you know, the southernmost city in Canada has temperatures similar to Detroit. I guess if you're an American, you can think about that. So, yeah, basically, Canada's warmest city year-round seems to be Vancouver, Victoria, British Columbia, and Canada's, you know, southernmost city is Windsor. Okay, so of those two cities, and I guess, you know, out east here it gets decently warm too, so maybe we'll investigate this some more, but of those two cities, if you were trying to escape winter, what would be best? Let's investigate that. So let's go Canada's mildest cities. Current results. I found this website, current results, and I have to say, no, it's the exact opposite. I really enjoy current results. What the fuck? I know they have an article called Canada's mildest cities, but they're giving us Canada's coldest cities for some reason, which makes no frickin' sense. Coldest Canadian cities. My maybe city with most sunny days, Canada. Looking for current results. Sunniest cities in Canada. Hopefully this brings it up. No. How do I see their articles? Hottest. Okay, that's fucking stupid, man. Okay, I guess this is sort of interesting. I mean, you could look at the hottest cities in Canada. Highest temperatures recorded for some of the hottest places in Western Canada. Many of these spots have topped 40 degrees Celsius on more than one day, I guess. Mydale and Yellowgrass, Saskatchewan, 45 degrees. 44, 40. So, Lytton, BC. Oliver, Soyuz, BC. Spence's Bridge, BC. So, you know, the hottest temperatures seem to consistently be out west, which is interesting because, you know, out east extends far further south, but I guess being, you know, closer to the ocean, but then BC's close to the ocean too. I mean, I guess the places in southern Ontario that aren't close to the ocean are regulated by the Great Lakes, and also, I guess Hudson's Bay is there, and if you think about it, Hudson's Bay is kind of like an extension of the Arctic Ocean down into interior of Canada. I mean, if you notice, if you're paying attention here, you can see the effect Hudson's Bay has on the climate. You know, you can see that starting about, you know, after about this latitude, it starts to get this weird, I don't know what this is. Tundra? Or boreal forest? It's hard to tell on Google Earth. It sort of looks like tundra, right? Which is kind of interesting. I wonder if this is actually tundra. I don't think so. I think this here, this green patch here, is boreal forest. All this big swath of green patch extending like this around Canada. Pretty sure this is all boreal forest. And, you know, down into BC and shit. This is obviously plains. So this would be tundra mixed with a little bit of boreal forest. You know, up here would be pure tundra. And this would be sort of tundra mixed with boreal forest and lakes and shit. And then, you know, extends down into here and you get dense boreal forest and then plains. So that's sort of interesting, but you can see, if you pay attention here, you can see how boreal forest sort of, you know, extends pretty far north up here, and then it kind of, or at least this green swath, whatever the hell this green swath is, extends pretty far north up here, and then as it gets closer and closer to Hudson's Bay, it gets pushed south. And then as it passes Hudson's Bay, it comes up north again. Now you could say, you know, it looks like it's extending further north because of the oceans, and then extending further south as you get into the interior, because, you know, obviously it gets colder in the interior, but you can see that it clearly follows the contours of Hudson's Bay. You know, it's clearly, you can see this disgusting shit color, you know, whatever the hell this is, you know, tundra, boreal forest, rock, you know, follows all the way down from the north, down around Hudson's Bay, and you know, even James Bay to a lesser extent. Is this James Bay? This is called James Bay, right? I don't know why sometimes names show up and then sometimes they don't. I swear I've seen this called James Bay before. Kind of weird that they wouldn't show me the name of this when I'm like directly zooming in on it. If I click on it, nah, whatever. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm confused. Anyway, I mean, Vancouver, Victoria, or somewhere on Vancouver Island is not that bad of an idea. But if you were someone who hates winter because of the cold, the only thing you hate about winter is the cold, and you just can't stand it being like -10 or whatever, or -20 in the winter, and you just hate that. You hate it being below 0 temperatures. Vancouver and Victoria, you know, all like southwestern British Columbia, southern Vancouver Island, is the place that you want to move to. But if you hate winter because of the lack of sunlight, this is probably not the place you want to move to, because it is fairly cloudy. Vancouver is more rainy than Victoria. You know, I would say Vancouver is more rainy and has more cloudy days than Victoria in the winter. But Victoria is still cloudy. It's still, you know, you get a few hours of weak sunshine, you know, every other day maybe. You know, it's just really not, I don't know, you just really don't, you won't feel like you get a lot of sunshine. I'll put it that way. You know, especially when the sun sets at, you know, 4:30 in the winter in Victoria, and, you know, plus it being cloudy, it just kind of leads to, you know, not feeling like you get a lot of sunshine. So that is the conclusion for the West Coast. Because generally in the West Coast, it is above zero. It only gets below zero like a few nights of the year. You know, it snows maybe just a little bit, uh, like I don't know, a few days. Not even in Victoria. Most years, I say like half of the years, it doesn't snow at all. And then when it does snow, it melts the second it hits the ground, or it's gone in hours or a day. You know, it's just really not. Doesn't stick around. You can expect, I would say, you could expect it to be 5 degrees, 6 degrees in December and in January, 4, 5, 6 degrees during the day in December and January. Sometimes it gets up to 8, in Vancouver and Victoria. Yeah. But, if you hate winter because of the lack of sunlight, this is not going to be a satisfying place for you to live. This is just going to deal with the cold of winter. It's not going to be bitterly cold in the winter, and there's not going to be a ton of snow. So if snow and cold bothers you, then this is a good place to move in Canada. I will say that something that bothers me when I lived out here is the cold summers. And that's weird. Sounds weird, but it was literally June, and it's like 15, 16 degrees, and I'm just like, holy shit, like, why is it so cold? It's summer, and it was very unsatisfying. It felt like I only got 4 weeks of summer. It felt like the last two weeks of July and the first 2 weeks of August were actually summer, and the rest was just cold. I don't know, just felt too cold. Felt like spring temperatures. It almost made me want to wear a friggin' hoodie, and yet the sun's out shining bright, and I don't know, just didn't feel very satisfying. So that's something to watch out for as well. So anyway, I think we'll move on. And moving on, not out east yet, there's another place I want to talk about, which is Chilliwack and Abbotsford. May be a better solution if you want warmer summers. These are kind of a compromise area where they don't get bitterly cold in the winter, but they're not quite as warm as Vancouver and Victoria. But in the summer, they get a little bit warmer, just a little bit. Just, you might feel like you actually get in the summer. I don't know. In all fairness, I haven't lived out there, but in my research, that seems to be what it indicates. So just a little bit, they gotta get a little bit higher peak temperatures in summer. Their Mays and Junes are a little bit hotter, And moving on, and now we're moving to someplace interesting, which is the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia. And Okanagan Valley is pretty warm. It's closer-ish to the ocean than somewhere like Calgary or Edmonton or whatever. So it gets sort of a little bit of that warming from the ocean. The winters aren't like freezing. Lots of sunny days in especially Kamloops and southern Okanagan, like Kelowna, Penticton, the Soyuz. Warm, generally. Obviously it does get cold. It probably gets negative -15, -10, 15, maybe -20, some nights of the year. But generally, I would say during the day, in the winter, probably hovers around -1, -2, and in the summers, they have long, warm summers. And something that's interesting is if you like warm water, lots of warm water, this may be a place to move because, a Soyuz lake is actually the warmest lake, to my knowledge, in Canada. This lake right here, a Soyuz lake, it's a decent sized lake, it's not, it's like a kilometer across. I don't know. And it's the warmest lake in Canada. It gets to be about, you can expect it to be 25 degrees in the summer. July and August, you can expect this lake to be 25 degrees. Obviously, in the winter, it gets cold. I'm not sure if it freezes over. I never lived in a Soyuz. But yeah, I don't know if this lake freezes over in the winter, but yeah, it's a decent sized lake. It's not huge, but it's a decent size. Also extends, someone's calling me. Yeah, and it also, something interesting, I guess, about it is that it also extends down into the United States, which is kind of cool, I guess. I don't know about the legality of if you took a boat and you just, so obviously there's a border cross here. I don't know about the legality if you took a boat and just drove it across here. I assume that's illegal, but I don't know. I wonder if they'd be okay with that. I wonder if they actually have, could they stop you? Do they have boats out here? Kind of something interesting to think about, what if you just went out, drove down here, and they watched you, and then you just drove back, or boated back? What would they do to you? Anyway, sorry I'm getting off topic. This is kind of interesting to me. If you wanted to escape into the United States, if you just took a boat and just boated down here and just got out, and bam, you're in the U.S., I guess you could do that anyway. You could just hike fucking through, I wonder if areas like this are even monitored. You could just climb a mountain and hike off into the U.S. But anyway, warmest lake, you can expect this lake to be 25 degrees or over in the summer, so quite warm. Okanagan Lake, quite a big lake. Obviously, because it's so big, it's going to be deeper, and you're not going to be able to expect it to get as warm as the Soyuz Lake in the summer, though it'll be swimmable for sure. I know that even, Shuswap Lake, you can swim in it in the summer, fairly comfortably. It's not the warmest thing in the world, but it's comfortable to swim in. And this lake, because it's not as, confined by mountains as the Shuswap is, it's going to be warmer. It also isn't, directly fed by, mountain peaks that are full of snow. They get filtered, it gets warmed up in lakes like these, like Shuswap Lake, before it goes, into Okanagan. Although I don't even think, I'm not sure if they're actually connected by anything. I think that this flows into the Thompson or something, which then flows into the Fraser at some point, and this, I have no idea where Okanagan Lake drains. Well, I guess actually it drains into a Soyuz Lake and then drains into the States, obviously. Duh, I'm fucking retarded, but, So, actually, this lake and this lake are actually part of completely different water systems. Watersheds? I don't know. you know, because this one drains into the Thompson, which drains into the Fraser, and this one drains into some river into the U.S., I guess. Okanagan River, yeah. So that's interesting. So yeah, you know, the Okanagan gets quite hot in the summer. I'm pretty sure a Soyuz was on. Wasn't a Soyuz in here? The Soyuz right there. So it gets quite hot. You know, actually, the Okanagan, you can probably tell this by how it looks, but the Okanagan, starting about Kelowna-ish and down, maybe even Vernon, is semi-desert, and Kamloops is semi-desert as well. You know, it gets quite hot. I don't know why. I have no idea what makes them that way, but they're very hot. You know, Soyuz, Oliver, Penticton, Kelowna, and Kamloops all get very hot. Especially Soyuz and Kamloops. And there's actually I don't know if people know this, but there's actually cactuses, like small ones. You know, just little spiky fuckers that, you know, if you go to Kamloops and you walk it around, you know, they'll stab you in your shoe and shit, and they're fucking annoying. But yeah, there's for real little tiny cactuses that live in Kamloops, and I think there's in certain places in Vernon they live, and Kelowna. I think there's a few places with cactuses, but definitely starting, you know, down here there's lots of cactuses, and lots in Kamloops, and you know, out here. So basically, and you can kind of tell if you just look at it, it's kind of you know, deserty. You can tell. You can see that, you know, not a lot of plant life, looks kind of deserty. Kind of weird, right? You know, you have no idea. It's like super wet out here, but not super wet, but you know, you got mountains with snow on them and shit, so kind of interesting that it's desert, but and it seems like such a small area too, you know, it just seems like, oh well, like here you're in desert, and yet you just drive out here, you know, drive out to friggin' Salmon Arm, and now you're not in desert anymore, you know. It's sort of interesting. So yeah, anyway, moving on to Calgary and Edmonton. Now you may wonder why we're talking about Calgary and Edmonton, and that is a good point. You know, Edmonton's obviously fucking freezing, and you do not want to move there if you dislike winter. It is really cold. Though Calgary and Lethbridge are actually a lot warmer than Edmonton. Although they do get quite cold in the winter. If you like hot summers and sunny winters, probably the place for you, actually. They're decent, you know, hot summers, and sunny winters, so yeah, not bad. Also, thunderstorms, lightning, tornadoes starts happening, you know, around here, and all this area is known for tornadoes, and you can get tornadoes, and there's some gnarly thunderstorms out here in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. So that's fun, you know. You want to see some. I love the thunderstorms. So anyway, and tornadoes. I've never seen a tornado though, but I really want to see a tornado. So it's on my bucket list, I guess you could say. And I would fucking love to live in like Oklahoma or something where there was tornadoes. Although I don't know if I could stand being so far from the ocean, but not that far, I guess. But yeah, you know, I'd love to fucking go storm chasing or something. It'd be pretty fun. And it's interesting to note that you can definitely go storm chasing in Canada. You know, it's not as condensed as the U.S. is. You know, it's not like you sit in some Oklahoma town and, you know, you can sit in like an Oklahoma town, just wait for fucking them to start announcing tornadoes. You know, you just wait for a tornado outbreak. But it's kind of like that in, you know, the prairies in Canada and southern Ontario. You can totally chase storms there, you know. I would say the prairies have the most powerful storms. In southern Ontario, I don't know if they have them more frequently than the prairies, actually. I guess more condensed. They're more condensed just specifically in this small area here where they get lots of storms. where the prairie is like this huge region, gets lots of storms, but they tend to be, more powerful. And an interesting fun fact, Canada gets the second most tornadoes of any country in the world. So just a fun fact, something to think about. Obviously the US is first, but Canada's second. So interesting. Not a close second, but I mean, they say that, the US has, I think, something like 1,000 confirmed tornadoes per year, and Canada has, I think, 60. But there's a caveat to that, because that's confirmed tornadoes, and if you notice, the population of the United States is much, much more dense. Like, the area that the population covers is much, much greater. You can just zoom in like anywhere in frickin' the US and just see farmland and houses or whatever. Like, you just zoom in here, like, there's houses and shit, right? And towns. And you can do that in like southern Ontario and stuff, and sure, you can do that in the prairies too. Lots of farmland and stuff, but there's just a lot less people in Canada. Especially as you move, you start to move up north. Like, who lives here, right? This isn't even that far from the prairie. It's just no one, not a road in fucking sight. The lake's named. There's just no one there. What about here? Oh, like a dinky, logging road. So actually, based on a tiny town, this little lake up here, so actually, experts estimate that they're probably around 250, based on, satellite data and thunderstorm data and, the sparseness of the population. They actually estimate that there's probably closer to, 200, 150, 200, 250 tornadoes per year in Canada, which is obviously still, at most a quarter of what the US gets, probably even less. But, it's a lot more than the 60 that are confirmed each year. So it's just because of the sparseness of the Canadian population that experts estimate that there's a lot more tornadoes than the confirmed tornadoes. So now we're moving on, and I think we can pretty much ignore Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Now, Manitoba is fucking cold because it has the worst of both worlds. It's the center, so it's like the furthest from oceans you can get in Canada. Plus, it's Hudson's Bay kind of starts here and jets out, and there's cold air from the Hudson's Bay that washes down here. There's a reason, this city is pretty far south. Winnipeg, they call the city Winterpeg for a reason. It's freaking cold here. Your buddies in the U.S. will tell you that, this cold doesn't just magically stop at the border. Here, Minnesota's pretty fucking cold. Like, all, up northern Minnesota and North Dakota are both really, really cold. It starts to get warmer, I would say southern Minnesota. Kind of, the cold, I think, sort of looks like this, like, sort of extends down like this, and gives you, like, a little hump, and then kind of extends up like that, and looks something like that. It's kind of what the cold looks like. Or, like, goes up like this. But yeah, the cold, definitely extends down in the winter down into, northern Minnesota, North Dakota, and Manitoba's right in the middle of that. Gets real cold. Winnipeg, right there. So, yeah, definitely not Manitoba if you want to escape the cold. Saskatchewan, similar thing. Saskatchewan's a little better than Manitoba, a lot better than Manitoba, further from Hudson's Bay. But I just think there's no advantage to living in southern Saskatchewan when you could live in southern Alberta, which is closer to the ocean, warmer, like there's no real advantage if you're trying to escape winter from living, southern, like Lethbridge versus fucking Moose Jaw or something. There's no, the difference is Saskatchewan's going to have same summer temperatures, slightly lower winter temperatures. Actually, maybe a decent bit lower winter temperatures compared to southern Alberta. Probably same number of sunny days kind of thing. So, anyway, now we move out east. And, yeah, this is furthest south you can get in Canada. Let's see. Furthest south city is Windsor, which is right here, which is kind of Canada's answer to Detroit, right on the other side of Detroit. And, everyone knows how great of a city Detroit is, so I'm sure Windsor is just fantastic. And this town, I guess, is the most southern town in Canada, Leamington. I mean, I don't see anything further south than that, right? Pelee Island, what is the furthest? I guess Pelee Island is the furthest. I guess Fish Point is the furthest south you can get in Canada. Oh no, look at that. Middle Island. Ooh, that is the furthest south piece of land in Canada. Middle Island. Uninhabited, it looks like. Interesting. In the middle of Lake Erie. That'd be cool. I wonder if you can buy that. I'd be interested in buying that. That's fucking lit. I'd make a little homestead there. Some goats and chickens and pigs, and I have a little sailboat. You get to friggin' restock at, Pelee Island or just in Leamington or something. That'd be cool. Yeah, I would say that this is probably, southern Ontario, Windsor, Leamington, probably up to about London. This is probably where you want to live if you care about having warmer winters, but also having nice hot summers. You get nice hot summers here. Powerful thunderstorms, which is awesome. There's tornadoes here, which is super cool. And there's nowhere in Canada that you will... Actually, I'm not even going to say that, but there's nowhere really on the oceans that gets that warm except a place I will talk about. Maybe around here. But this is cool because Lake Erie and Lake Ontario and parts of Lake Huron get decently warm in the summer. Lake Erie is 100% swimmable, probably 4 or 5 months of the year, depending on how brave you are, which is pretty cool. Lake Ontario is similar. I think Lake Ontario is, the warmest. Lake Erie is a close second. I think Michigan maybe is third. I don't know. I don't know about this lake either. Maybe, I don't know if this is warm. I assume it's warm. But yeah, it's like living on an ocean, kind of. The Great Lakes are so big that, it's fresh water, but it's kind of like living on an ocean because they're just so massive, how many kilometers is that? This is one of the smaller Great Lakes, and this is 100 kilometers across, 90 kilometers across. It's a pretty big lake, and that's one of the smaller lakes, second smallest lake. So, yeah, and they get quite warm in the winter, so it's almost like half of the year, maybe a little less than half of the year, 5 months, it's like living in tropical paradise because it's hot and humid, thunderstorms and tornadoes and warm water, large amounts of warm water. So this is, and then the other half of the year you gotta deal with fucking cold, and stuff, and you'll get snow and ice and cold weather, but usually, from as much as from what I can tell, it seems to warm up quickly in the spring, which is kind of nice, like April, March, April, snow will be gone. April, you'll be starting to get warm temperatures, You'll be sunny and warm by around April, mid-April, which is pretty nice versus, living, everyone knows if you live somewhere else in Canada, like up here, actually the prairies warm up fairly fast too, but, if you lived in, I don't know, up here, northern BC, I don't know, northern Alberta, it takes a while to warm up. It can be frustrating because the sun can be sunny and warm from the sun, and yet there will be snow and ice on the ground and it'll still be cold. And you'll be like, man, if the snow was just gone, it would feel like summer, but it just isn't. So yeah, I would say Southern Ontario, probably the top choice. Shittiest thing about Southern Ontario is probably just how many people live here. There's a reason that the majority of Canada's population is here, because it is, compared to the rest of Canada, it's pretty, it's nice weather, so just, there's a reason, let's just say there's a reason that the majority of Canada's population lives, I don't know if it's the majority of Canada's population, but, the largest amount of, the largest amount of people live in this area. This is the most populous area, this little corridor right here from Montreal to Windsor. It's kind of the most populated part, you can tell by the cutting back of the forest, it almost looks just like an extension of the US, so many people live here, right? And then out east. So, if you were trying to escape the winters out here, well, further out east. This isn't actually a bad idea because warm ocean waters happen here. Happen, I think, along this coastline from about here down like this. This little bowl, I think, gets quite warm. You can see it's shallow in here, and also the Gulf current obviously comes off like the tip of Florida, flows up, flows out straight at, comes up the coast and then flows out like this straight at, whatever you call this, Europe, to, keep Europe nice and warm. That's why, Ireland, I'll show you, that's why Ireland and the United Kingdom and blah, 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 they're at the 53rd parallel. If you go to the 53rd parallel in Canada, you're like in fucking, Arctic tundra. Not Arctic tundra, but, it's a lot colder on the 53rd parallel in Canada than it is in Ireland, just because of how Canada is, right? In fact, Southern Ontario is at, like, what, the 42nd parallel? How come it isn't telling me? What the fuck is going on? Why isn't it telling me? Okay. Southern Ontario is at the 42nd parallel. Look where the 42nd parallel lines up in Europe. Northern Spain, northern Portugal, northern tip of Portugal, and almost directly crosses straight through Rome. Yet everyone knows, like, Rome in Italy is much, much warmer. And the seas out here are much warmer than, Southern Ontario, but still, just to give you an idea of how much warmer, Europe is to Canada, but whatever. But yeah, you can get as far south as Rome, basically, which is kind of nice, I guess. It's so much colder in this part of the world that kind of It definitely helps, but, you know. Anyway, out here, New Brunswick, warmest ocean temperatures in Canada. In the summer, this ocean can get to be 20 degrees, over 20 degrees. You know, they claim that it can be 30 degrees. I think that it was probably, you know, I got the information off a tourist site. They say that, you know, that this ocean can get up to 30 degrees. I think it can get up to 30 degrees, but I think it's something like, you know, if there was like a heat wave or something 5 years ago and they got up to this water got up to 30 degrees and they're like, oh shit, use that in our, you know, our tourist marketing or whatever. So I wouldn't trust that a ton, but definitely this water gets warm here. This is probably, you know, in July, August, September, this water is probably swimmable, you know, without a wetsuit fairly comfortably. So, you know, basically every year, you know, obviously some years the water's going to be warmer, some years the water's going to be colder, and this is caused by it being very shallow and the Gulf Stream, a little bit of the Gulf Stream that goes to Europe gets sometimes just get, you know, a little bit of it'll just shoot up into here and warm up this area a little bit, you know, and the Gulf waters are quite warm, so waters here end up being quite warm. So, I think I have covered everything I want to cover in this video. I am going to probably make another video sometime talking about ways you can actually escape Canada. If none of these places in Canada are satisfying to you, or, you know, maybe moving to one of these places is just a, you know, a temporary fix, you know, I'll give you a video talking about how you, as a young person with, you know, no money or, you know, very little money and working at a minimum wage job, how you can maybe get to a warmer country. So, yeah, anyway, thanks for, you know, thanks to the 3 people who watched this and could stand my, you know, long pauses and, I don't know, yeah, long pauses and ums and ums and fucking shit. This is, my first video, so obviously not the best speaker. I tend to take a little bit of time to think about what I'm going to say, but, you know, if you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like and maybe subscribing. Probably, I guess I gotta edit this video now. I don't think I'm gonna upload this whole thing, so probably gonna cut it and cut out certain parts and, yeah, just polish it up a little bit. We'll see how it turns out. So, hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Bye.